The Toronto Maple Leafs have just announced that Austin Matthews is about to miss the next 3 weeks. Leafs PR tweeted this out. Injury update. We're already off to a rocky start. Update on what? No, I didn't know about this. Injury update. Maple Leafs forward Austin Matthews will be out of the lineup for a minimum of 3 weeks due to a knee sprain suffered in Wednesday's game versus the Rangers. Now, I was at this game on Wednesday against the Rangers, and I did notice him in some discomfort, but it was when he blocked a shot, and I think it was like in the arm or the upper body somewhere. That was the only time I noticed him in any discomfort. Sheldon Keefe, who's the coach, so he would have a better eye for these things, said he saw Matthews in discomfort a couple times, but he stayed in the game. I didn't notice a thing. He was even on the ice, well, barely, for the overtime winner that the Leafs scored. So let's start with the easy stuff. Is this a good or a bad thing? It's bad! It's pretty bad. Okay, now how bad? Let's try to figure it out with the information that we have. First, think you know which way it's gonna go? Gear bet at Sports Interaction. When the puck drops, Sports Interaction has you covered before the game, live betting on all major sports, and prop bets. Do they have one on overtime ending in 15 seconds? Want to bet? Visit sportsinteraction.com/SDPN and download the brand new app. It's 19 plus though. Please play responsibly. The bad news, the Leafs put the word minimum in that tweet. So don't look for 3 weeks from now. They said minimum. So could be a month, could be more. I've seen some speculation that he could be quote unquote Kucherov'd and could be done for the season. I think that's a pretty big jump from 3 weeks to like 3 months. Some good news, sometimes players progress faster than you expect and they come back from injury faster than you expect. Think John Cena. I'm sure there are hockey equivalents as well. Also, you can suffer a setback. A setback in Tanner Pearson's recovery out in Vancouver put him out the rest of the season. TJ Brodie is still out of the Leafs lineup, and he's taking longer than expected to recover from this injury, just like he was the last one that kept him out of the lineup. 2 times in the same season, Brodie has come back to the lineup later than expected. The potential good news, does this have LTIR implications? First of all, I hate what the salary cap has done to our brains. Our best player is out of the lineup. Could this be a good thing? Tampa did this to Success a couple seasons ago, and here's the thing. Most teams in the National Hockey League are not the Tampa Bay Lightning. Most teams in the NHL cannot survive being without their best forward for an entire regular season. Would the Leafs still make the playoffs if they were without Austin Matthews for the rest of the regular season? Honestly, probably yes. Would it affect who they play in the first round? Honestly, probably no. It would probably still be Tampa. It might just be the difference between home ice advantage and not having home ice advantage. But last year they had home ice advantage, and well, I don't need to, yeah, you saw it. It is unlikely this will have significant or any LTIR implications heading into the trade deadline. So, 3 weeks, that's pretty bad. Well, it's not quite as bad as you think, and there's a few reasons why. Number one, there are only 3 games left until the All-Star break. The Leafs have the Ottawa Senators tonight, and then they have Washington and Boston. 2 teams obviously in the playoffs right now. Boston probably on a collision course with the President's Trophy. But then you get a week off. You get more than a week off for the All-Star game. The Leafs are off, I believe, between the 1st and 10th. So Matthews can choose to go to those festivities or not, but he's not going to play. In 2019, he went to St. Louis. He had the brace on his wrist. He didn't play, but he took part in the festivities. You can get around pretty easily with a bunk wrist. I imagine a knee is going to be a lot more of a nuisance and cumbersome. I don't think he's going to go to the All-Star game, but it is in Florida, so, you know, whether he's at home resting or at the All-Star game resting, let's be honest, he's not going to play. But these are the Leafs games coming out of the All-Star break. Producer Drew with the visual aid, if you please. They got a home-and-home series with the Columbus Blue Jackets for some reason. They're in the Bedard sweepstakes. The Blackhawks, they're in the Bedard sweepstakes. The Habs, they're in the Bedard sweepstakes. The Blackhawks, again, what a blessing. And then you get your first team who even has a shot at the playoffs in the Buffalo Sabres, and the first actual team in a playoff spot today the Leafs play after the All-Star break is the Minnesota Wild on February 24th, well after the 3-week period would expire. Then they head out on their long Western road trip, Seattle, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver. All that to say, yes, the Leafs are going to be without their best player for a minimum of 3 weeks, but they're going to miss a minimum amount of games without that player because of the All-Star break. And then after the All-Star break, they're going to be playing teams that are pretty bad. Now, if you're a hardcore Leaf fan, there's going to be a hardcore red flag in there for you. Steve, the Leafs stink against teams they should beat. Montreal is the red, white, and blue flag. 0-2 against the Habs this season. The Leafs are tied for second in the NHL. Make it make sense. Now, that doesn't make any sense. You know what else doesn't make any sense? Historically, the Leafs, without Austin Matthews in the lineup, play at a 107-point pace. They are currently third in the NHL on a 113-point pace, so this loss will make them plummet all the way to 6th. So it'll be two, tremendous forces coming up against each other. The Leafs' inability to beat teams that they should, and being really good without their best player. So this is what the Leafs' forward lines are supposed to be tonight, and we'll only focus on the forwards because we're talking about Matthews here. Bunting with Tavares and Marner. Tavares moving up, that just makes sense. Järnkrok with Holmberg and Nylander. Minimum interruption there. I mean, as minimum as you can. You're just moving up Holmberg, but you're keeping the two wingers. McMahon, Kampf, Engvall. No change there. Zach Aston Reese, who should probably be an everyday player anyway, with Kerfoot and Anderson. Minimal change there. I mean, Holmberg looked like a top 6 player when he scored backhand breakaway on Igor Shesterkin. But the Leafs have significant time to evaluate here. They have 3 games before the All-Star break. If this turns out to be a disaster, that might give them pause, but then you get the All-Star break, you come back, and you have your few games, Columbus, Chicago, Montreal, Chicago. If that goes horribly awry, then maybe you accelerate plans for the trade deadline, you prioritize getting a forward, which they should probably do anyway, but maybe that's a forward who can play a little bit of center. Why don't I just say Bo Horvat? So does this change the Leafs' plans? I don't think so. Might it accelerate them? I think, you know what? I honestly don't think so. If the next few weeks without Austin Matthews are a disaster, the Leafs might have bigger problems than that. But hey, what a shot for Pontus Holmberg, eh? The Leafs could call up someone else. More likely, they would try to promote Alex Kerfoot, since he's actually been their second-line center for stints of time to varying degrees of success. Nylander also an option, Engvall also an option, Järnkrok also an option. None of them ideal options. But there's nothing ideal about losing your best player, so you make do. So, what do you think? Is this imminent disaster? How are the Leafs going to do? Are they going to accelerate their plans to go out and make a trade? Personally, as wild as it seems to see Austin Matthews out a minimum of 3 weeks in writing, I think they'll be okay. Let me know in the comment box down below. But for now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell your friends. It's all going to be fine. Unless it's not. But is it? I hope so. I hope it's okay.